Hey fam, it's your girl Charlotte, and what I have decided to do is share with you guys 10 recommended reads from 2022. I was reading a blog post by former President Obama, and he put on there books that he recommended. And so I thought I'd put together my own list of books to share with you guys. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's start from the beginning. Oh, my number one favorite book. First of all, I've loved this book for the last probably 10 years. And so I read it every year, and I read it several times in a year. And it's my number one book of all time, and the book that I want to share with everybody and make sure that you understand that everybody needs to read this book. It's called The War of Art. And The War of Art is really about saying that a lot of times when we endeavor to do our great things, when we endeavor to do what it is we're passionate about, whenever we endeavor to do what it is we feel divinely called to do, that there will be this thing called resistance that will probably take us away from and prevent us from living our best lives. And I love how Stephen Pressfield really talks about this concept in his book, in terms of us really understanding that resistance is always going to be there. And so instead of feeling like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this because of all the resistance, you just kind of pony up, sit next to resistance, and like I say, okay, I guess you're coming on this ride with me, so let's go. But don't let resistance be the reasons why you do what it is you need to be doing in the world. And so I love this book, War of Art. I would love to talk more about it with other people. So tell me what you think once you read it, if you read it. And it's one of those books that I feel like Stephen Pressfield, like he systemically was inside my head, basically telling me exactly what I need. And I love that, you know, the onus on us being successful, the onus on us creating our own reality is up to us. And so we do have that power, and we have the capabilities of doing it. Don't get it twisted, but understand that those inner barriers has nothing to do with our capacity and our ability to do what we need to do. We just need to overcome them, need to know how to kind of strategize them, you know, accept them for what they are, and use them to help us be better and live better lives. So check it out. I hope you love it as much as I do, and I'd love to hear your comments about it. My next book is called Talking to Humans, and what I really love about this book is that I know everybody, so y'all know I've been in a whole bunch of different entrepreneurial programs, and everybody says, read the book, Talking to Humans, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And I'll be honest, I always feel like when a whole bunch of people tell you to read the same thing, I'm always suspect, like, is this just fad, or is this just like because everybody feels like they got to say this and it's the right thing to do or whatever. But I will say Talking to Humans is really cool. It's a really great book, especially if you're an entrepreneur. I think if you're a creative in general, it is a good book. What we have to understand is that when we are creating our art, when we are doing our businesses, when we are doing whatever it is we're doing in the world, that it is in relationship to other humans. And guess what? Quiet as it's kept, we are humans ourselves. And so this book really offers us an opportunity to kind of come out of our what I call inside the business and go outside of the business, or instead of being inside of being creative, go outside of the creative, to interact with the world in many different ways, to understand how what it is we do is in relationship to humans. And also what I want people to understand too is that, what I love about Talking to Humans is that, like, you could be doing the same thing that somebody else is doing. Like, a lot of times people say, well, should I do this? Should I make cakes? I mean, it's an oversaturated market. Yeah, but if you're doing something that's really talking to other humans in a way that they want to be talked to as it relates to cake, then do it. But you won't know that until you have those conversations, until you engage in those kind of activities that allow you to understand why what it is you do is connecting other human beings. And so I really highly recommend this book. Again, this is another one where I would love to have some conversations about it. I'd love to hear your comments and tell me what you think. All right, so the next book I have on the list is a book. It goes back, it's an old book. I read it a while ago, but it kind of came back to me in 2022 because I feel like as I've been building Conscious Gear, I've really been challenged around remaining authentic, staying true to myself, making sure that all of my steps are intentional, and making sure that I retain my level of integrity that's important to me. And the 4 Agreements is that book that just kind of keeps reminding me. And what I love, there's like 4 agreements, right? And so one of the agreements that I love the most, y'all, I think it was the first agreement that I read that really helped shift the paradigm for me. And that is, do your best. Like, I know it's simple as fuck, but honestly, like, I just feel like we live in this world where we're constantly being measured. We're constantly having to measure ourselves against other people. And to know that, like, no matter what, if I just do my best, then that's it. Like, I don't need to judge myself. I don't need to criticize myself. I don't need to think of myself as less than. I don't need to compare myself. I don't need to do anything but know that, like, I did my best. And because a lot of times you are really doing your best, but yet you're beating yourself up. At least I do. Let me speak from I beat myself up, and I'm thinking to myself, why in the fuck am I beating myself up? I fucking hauled ass. I did so much. And so what I love about the 4 agreements is that he helped me to understand, like, if you're going to do your best, then do your best, and know that's good enough, and know that that's sufficient to be in support of your future aspirations and your future goals. The other 3 agreements are be impeccable with your word. And this one, so 2022 was a year when I really had to come back to this be impeccable with your word, because I had an interaction with a coworker where I said some things I had no business saying. They weren't major, but I've always tried to live by being impeccable with your words, because I know words have power. I know we have this thing that sticks and stones will make your bones, but words will never hurt you. Well, that's a fucking lie. Words will hurt. Words can be traumatic. Words can really injure other people. So being impeccable with my words means that I am not a business of causing any further trauma. I'm not about the business of further hurting other people. And being impeccable with your word really is about also not complaining and whining and playing down, or, playing dumb or playing less than. That being impeccable with your words is like, I say to myself, I'm doing this business, these are my goals, you know what I mean? And not even when other people say, well, it might be hard for you to do that, and it's going to be this, that, and the other, and they got all naysayers and all the other stuff they got to say. But I'm gonna be impeccable with my words, because that's for me. And that I have to realize that my dream and my vision is mine, and it's not you. It's not necessarily meant for you to even see and understand. And so being impeccable with my words has really been one of those places where I feel grounded and solid and true to myself. And then the other thing is, don't take anything personal. Ooh-wee! I'm gonna tell you something about entrepreneurship. You have to don't take shit personally, because people will say all kind of shit to you. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, from some of the dumbest ass shit to some really great inspirational, motivational, and affirmation. Gaslight, green light, whatever the hell y'all call that stuff. But it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You can't take it personal. You gotta understand that they are projecting from their frame of reference, what it is they understand, right? And you can be appreciative and thanks, but like, don't take it personal, right? Because the only thing you need to take personal is what you thinking to yourself and what you saying to yourself. So don't take anything personal. And I love how, Miguel tells you it's the positive and the negative, because a lot of times we'll get all hyped up because people are like saying all these really good things about ourselves. But that's kind of like a misnomer too. It's more about don't take any of it personal, right? If you know you're doing good, you don't need nobody outside of you tell you. If you know you're doing bad, you don't need nobody outside of you telling you. So you don't need to take anything from anybody else personally, because the only thing that matters is what you say to yourself. And then the last one, y'all. Oh, this right here can change your life. This agreement, if you make this agreement with yourself, it will motherfucking change your life. And it's don't make assumptions. We live in a world where people are fucking lazy. They want to make assumptions and just assume things based on their own way of thinking. They're not curious. They're not open to the fact that everybody on the planet is different than them. They are not willing to do the work. They're not willing to just pause to understand that there is so much of a variety out there, and there's so much amazing things going on. And so a lot of times people will just make assumptions because it's easy. It's fucking easy. But I'm telling you, as an entrepreneur and as someone who's trying to do great things in the world, you can't make any assumptions. Because the moment you make assumptions, that means that you have not really understood the complexity of humanity. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I think this is one of those agreements that entrepreneurs really need to make with themselves, because I think this can be why businesses are not successful. They say the top 3 reasons for why, businesses are not successful is access to capital. I think they also say like maybe it's the team, but then also say go-to-market strategy, which really what they're saying is that the person has created something, but they haven't really validated that people really want it. And what happens is they made it, and they made an assumption that everybody wanted when don't nobody really want it. And so, if you ever get a chance to read The 4 Agreements, please do. It's a great book. I think it'll change your life, and it'll help you on your journey. This next book is called The Mindful Athlete. I love this book. Oh my God. First of all, I love to read. And I just feel like I'm living in a day and time where there's so many really great books. So, sorry, I keep saying I love this book. But I do. And so I've never really considered myself an athlete, and I never was really athletic. And but as many of you know, when I tell my story, I went from 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour to the 50-mile ultra marathon. I really discovered in that time frame that I really was athletic, and that there was a part of me that could be an athlete. Obviously, as I continue to do ultra marathons, obviously I'm an athlete, but I never really, I don't know, I always felt like athletes were people who weren't really smart and who just went out and played with their lives. And honestly, I apologize for all of that. Oh my God, I feel horrible now that I even thought that about athletes. But what I love about this book and The Mindful Athlete is that George really reminded me. I read this book after I probably did my first ultramarathon, but George reminded me that so much of why I was able to succeed was because I was being mindful, meaning that I was in my moments on the journey. Like I tell people, I started at 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour. I just did whatever I could. I didn't necessarily envision myself doing 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, ultramarathons, but I was open to the journey. And in many respects, in this book, I was affirmed around the fact that just being present for the journey is being mindful, right? As opposed to being unconscious and half-assed about what the fuck you're doing, you're really saying, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm doing it with my mind, and I'm doing it consciously, and I'm doing it intentional, and I'm being present for the moment. And this brother right here, I guess he goes into different teams, professional sporting teams, and he teaches athletes to meditate, to quiet their mind, to use their mind in service to being successful in their sport, meaning that they can envision winning the game. They can envision them, making the slam dunk. They can envision themselves making the touchdown. They can envision themselves crossing the finish line. Like he's saying, like, you can use your mind in service to being an athlete, but you got to be mindful. And so, love this book too. I think I need to start, I'm gonna start a little book club. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start a book club. I'm gonna have a book, and I'm gonna have a talk about books, because this one right here, I know everybody named Mama need to read this book. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. And I think when he talks about, like, on the cover here, it says secrets to pure performance. The bottom line is this, y'all. It's not even performance on the field, but performance in life. That these things that he teaches people around mindfulness really applies to your life. And I tell people all the time that I have discovered that life is an ultra marathon, and that really it's about putting one foot in front of the other in service to getting to the finish line, whatever that may be. Well, the finish line for humans is death. But so I'm just saying, like, and to be mindful about that, and to be present in the moments, because we miss out on so much when we're just sitting around unconscious and sitting around complaining and sitting around not being present. So anyways, I can go on all day about this book, so let me stop. So The Mindful Athlete, and this next book, shit. Okay, look. All right, somebody's coming in, so I might have to stop talking. But anyways, okay, so this next book is Finding Me by Viola Davis. And if y'all know Viola Davis and How to Get Away with Murder, she was on a lot of other things, but I think that's the one thing that most people can relate to and know who she is. So this is what happened, y'all. I read this book. It was an audio book. And I listened to this book. In Arizona, here in Tempe, Arizona, there's what they call a mountain. and it's a steep ass mountain. I mean, when you like you try to run it and your ass will die. Well, maybe almost, but anyway, it's really tough. And so what happened was I was committing to going a couple days a week, and I still do, doing the climb on the mountain. And I said what I will do is I will listen to this book. And so really Viola will always be connected to me being on A Mountain because I listened to her I kept going back to A Mountain because then it was my excuse to listen to Viola Davis's book. But her book is about fucking climbing mountains. Like the stuff that she went through in her life were like things that she shouldn't have been able to overcome, but she did. And I love her. She reads her own book. And so I love how she speaks to, there was a lot of things that were super traumatic, but how she turned a lot of that trauma into really amazing things. And so she really created this amazing life. But she doesn't dismiss the fact that, that shit happens. And yes, even in her adulthood, even in her fame, that stuff can kind of creep back up on her and be a little bit debilitating at times. But what she discovers is that all of it's about finding me. So what happens in life is like we're not, when we come out of the womb, no one says, look, baby, what you need to do is find yourself. No, what happens when we come out of the womb, that everybody around us is trying to tell us who we are. And then we have all these experiences based on the capabilities and the knowledge and the wherewithal of the people, our families of origin. And so then we are kind of, how do I want to say this? We're at the mercy of our families of origin. So we're only going to get so far as it relates to who we are based on them. It will be because we get other pieces of knowledge along the way that we will kind of turn up and find who we really are. And so I love this book, y'all. I love this book. I was so sad when it ended because I was like, I'll be honest with you, because when it ended, I didn't go back to A Mountain for a while. Because for me, for a while, like going up A Mountain and going up those hills and coming back down, coming up those hills was like, her book was about that. So like me, like I would always feel so like good about doing A Mountain because me and Viola, So anyways, y'all should check that book out. It's amazing. I loved it. Okay, let me go on to the next thing. Uphill. Speaking of hills, Jemelle Hill. This is a phenomenal book too. And she's from Michigan, so of course I'm always partial to people from Michigan because I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, but she's from Detroit, Michigan. And she talked so much about her struggles. She talked so much about how she overcome so much to get to where she was in life. And then she had an incident with the company that she was working for, and they ended up firing her because she said something truthful about Donald Trump. Yeah. So anyways, what I love about Jemelle is she's a very complex woman. I feel like so much of her story I can really relate to. And I really love this sister who's like into sports. You know what I mean? I think we don't get that story a lot. And so it's nice to kind of hear from somebody who's really like into that and is good at it, but also just conscious about blackness and womanness and everything like that. And so, I need to do a book club because I want to talk more in depth about this, and I can't really do this in this little takeaway video. But check out Jemelle Hill's book, Uphill. And it's really about her being able to overcome and uphill, So anyways, this next book, Metabolical, y'all. When y'all read this book, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, when y'all read this book, it's gonna fuck with you. Now, I'm not saying that you're gonna go stop eating all the processed food, nasty food that you're eating right now, but when you eat it, it's not gonna taste the same. I'm just gonna tell you right now. So, and I'm not gonna even tell you, don't read this book. Hell yeah, read this book. And yes, get triggered. I don't give we gotta understand that the westernized food system is not designed to keep us healthy. It's in cahoots with the medical community to keep us barely alive so that everybody makes money off of us with the food, with the medicine, with the medical care, all of it. It's all in cahoots. And it's not in service to us living our best lives. So, what this book does for me is that it's starting to help me shape a kind of philosophy around why we're in bigger bodies, right? And I'm getting all the scientific data and backup to support that claim. But also why we're in the bigger bodies and how our bodies have had to adapt and evolve because of our industrialized food system and also our technology that really has us sitting on our asses for, 8 to 12, 20 hours a day. And so Metabolical is just one of those books that really will shake you up as it relates to what you're doing and how you're eating. And I'm not saying like eating better is about getting smaller, but eating better is about making sure that your biological physiology is better. Like health and fitness has nothing to do with the size. It has to do with what's going on in your body. You could be in a bigger body and you ain't got high blood pressure. You could be in a bigger body and not be diabetic. You could be in a bigger body and not, have high cholesterol and all these other comorbidities, right? You could be healthy, even in a bigger body. But it's hard to do when you're eating all these processed foods. So this is really a great book. Check it out. Again, I got to do book club because I want to talk about this book. I want to talk about every single chapter, every single word, because it is dynamic and amazing. So yeah, check it out, folks, and let me know what you think. All right, the next book is Collective Wisdom. It's about lessons, inspiration, advice from women over 50. This is just a fun book. This was, as I'm in my mid 50s now, and just realizing that I do get to bring a little bit of wisdom to the table, and then reading about other women's wisdom and how I relate to a lot of their wisdom as well. It was a joy looking at the pictures, amazing, beautiful pictures of these beautiful women in their 50s, and hearing their words and their stories. It's just, I hug this book because I feel like it's just me in a book, with all my sisters in the 50s. So I love this book. I want to share it with y'all. Make sure y'all read it. It's for women over 50, so not only in the 50s, I'll remind myself. But it's just amazing. It's just super, super duper amazing. Just check it out. Rooted in the Earth. Yes, this book, I read this book several years ago, but then last year I started reading it again. And again, I think it has to do with me working on this outdoor brand and really I realized that I'm not interested in just having a brand where I'm selling shit, but I'm really about wanting to create a movement around bringing people back to nature and understanding the historical significance of nature, and the relationship that African Americans had to it, and that we've been environmentalists and conservationists and in the outdoors since the very beginning. That we were some of the first national park rangers because didn't nobody else want to do the shit, and we did it for free. But I'm here to say that Rooted in the Earth is really about our history in environmental issues. And I love this book, and I think it's a great book. And again, I need to do a book club so we can talk about it. But yeah, this is one of the reads that I went back to in 2022. All right, and then my final book, but then I have a bonus one, and I'll tell you why. The final book is A Hidden Message in Water. So again, as an entrepreneur who's doing this outdoor brand, and then now I'm creating this hydration vest, this whole issue, I really want to elevate this conversation around hydration because guess what, y'all? This is what I went back to my journals and I realized the reason why I was successful from going from 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour to a 50-mile ultra marathon in 16 months is because when I'm reading my journal, I discovered that I really dialed in on hydration. I always made sure I had so much water every 90 minutes. I always made sure that if it was a hotter day, I made sure I had extra hydration. I really tapped into making sure I was hydrated. And I think that was really contributed to my success as an ultra marathoner. But what I love about what Emoto is saying is that water is power. Water is source. And you got to think about it. Our bodies are made of 70% water. The planet is over 70% water. Water is no joke. We keep messing around. water is no joke. And then we always talking about there might be a shortage of water. There will never be no shortage of water because we got plenty of water on this planet, so don't get it twisted. So if somebody's trying to, well, we do charge each other for water, but you know what I mean? Like, we ain't gonna run out of water, for real, for real. But anyways, I'm gonna say this. Emoto shares in his book about how, like, you can take a bottle of water, right? And you can bless it. And you can send positive energy to it. And guess what? It will receive that. And then if you drink it, guess what? You will experience that. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. But more so, Emoto really is talking about how he, the reason why, how he was able to get this information was he would like take water, it's really water crystals, and he would say, he would put positive words or great music, and the crystals would form into these really dynamic and beautiful shapes. But when he used ugly words or dark music or something like that, then the crystals really wouldn't even kind of form. They would be just disoriented, just don't even look right. And so while everybody keeps saying that his work is not scientifically backed up and blah blah blah, there are some times when people are doing basic science research that maybe hasn't been sufficiently backed up by science, that you know, common sense and innately, that there's something here and there's something good and there's something true. And that's what I believe about Emoto's work. And so I would love for you guys to check it out. Love to talk about it. One of the things that I started doing is blessing my water and saying, you know, I bless you that you hydrate me, that you help my body run efficiently. You helped me on my run this morning, my bike this morning, my going up a mountain this morning, whatever the case may be. But blessing the water, honoring the water, and saying, like, you know, we are in relationship to one another. And so, yeah. So this was my last book, but I did a little bonus book. And the reason why is because I was in the library and I came across this book called Oona. And my daughter's name, I have a set of twins, boy, girl. My son is named Brian and my daughter's named Oona. And the reason why their names are kind of a little different is because me and their father had a fight in the delivery room about what the kids would be named. And and the reason why we kind of struggled was because we didn't even find out I was having twins until like 8 months. I was 8 months. So we really didn't have time to even talk about it. And the next thing I know, I was, you know, in the delivery room having the babies. And he wanted to name the babies Brian and Brianna. No. I wanted to name the babies Brian and Brianna. And he wanted to name the babies Oona and Mars. And I refused to let him name my son Mars because I felt like that was the kind of name where kids would take that name and tease him and he would just be traumatized his whole life. So, but Oona something about it felt, and then he went on to tell me it's like from Greek mythology and it means one with God, and they talk about it in Spanish and Latin and all these different languages. There's this Oona word, and I was like, okay, I'll let you name her Oona, but I'm gonna name my son Brian. And so my daughter is this really incredible, beautiful brown woman, and when I saw this book, I just could see her in it. And she's just a free spirit. She's like, you know, incredibly friendly and bubbly and amazing and smart, but super beautiful. And I'm always like, wow, man, you're like super beautiful. But anyways, so I saw this book with her name on it, and it just really, I think for me, it just affirmed that it was okay for me to name her Oona, that was a good name, even though I was a little struggling with it, that it was a good name from her father, and that to see it on the cover of a book, just my heart good. So I hope Oona is listening to this one day. Maybe I'll send her a little snippet or something like that. I love you, Oona. I've always loved your name. When your dad told me what it meant, I really fell in love with it because I was like, ooh, it was the kind of name where he said she would always be blessed. She would be protected by the Holy Spirit. And I was like, okay, well then that's cool then, you know, like, yeah, all right, we can name her that. And I'm just glad that I embraced that for her, and that she really got to live her life with this really incredible and beautiful and very dynamic name that has a whole bunch of meaning. And now, now she's in this incredible book. There's another one that's coming out there's another one that's already coming out of this, and then there's another one coming out. So I own all of them, and I've pre-ordered the third one. But I dedicate this to my daughter Oona. who's amazing and wonderful and beautiful. And every time I see this, she's an adult now, so every time I see this, every time I look at the book cover, I have it at home, I just think of her and I think about when she was a kid. And and I want you guys to check it out too, because Oona's amazing. My daughter's amazing, and so is all Oona. So thank you guys for tuning in. I know I've been long-winded, but I hope you got a little something out of this. And yeah, take good care of yourselves. And as always, I'll see you outdoors. Peace and love, family.